Welcome to Kane County Speaks here at WRMN AM 1410 and on YouTube at WRMN Radio on YouTube today as we get things started on our show that takes place every other Thursday here on the show, covering some local issues and interviewing some local candidates. This is a big election year, and we want to make sure that we let you know here at the outset of the show that the following paid commercial program does not reflect the opinions and views of Nexstar Incorporated, this station, or their employees and affiliates. And now we welcome the host of our show, Brian Anderson, back for show number 3. Hey, Brian, how are you, sir?
Mark, good morning. Great to be back up here in Elgin, and got a great candidate today, John Gripe, running for District 14. Before we get started, I just want to remind your great listeners and the signs behind us, Kane County Speaks. We are really just a group of citizens, grassroots, if you will, with probably a little bit more conservative values.
Yeah.
And I love what you just shared with your listeners. Listen, everybody has an opinion, and they may not always like what I have to say, and I would always welcome your listeners to call in and maybe ask a question or discuss, and at the end of the day, we may go, we're actually on the same page, or we can agree to disagree agreeably. But I just wanted your listeners to know that, you know, we're really not some Republican, if you will. We have those conservative tenets.
Right.
But we're grassroots people. So anyway, thanks for bringing that up. And before I get to Mr. Gripe, I just wanted to remind your audience that when I came on, it seems like a decade ago, when I was on the 6th, I shared with your listeners, please tune in, log in, or go to the Kane County Board meeting, which was on June 11th. Mm-hmm. And there was a huge initiative. It was the Kane County Climate Action Implementation.
Yes, sir.
And we could spend 2 hours talking about that alone. It was close. It was passed. It was a 13 to 9 vote at the end. And I believe we had one Democrat who was on at the beginning of the meeting and then maybe business related couldn't do the vote, and one Republican, just to be fair. So it was very, very close. I think as it comes out, there should be more citizen questioning, because it is not a win-win, really. Should we all be good stewards? Should we all want clean water, clean air, clean energy? And the answer to that is absolutely. But some of these initiatives really fall under that big government. But anyway, I want to spend whatever time we have left. We've got John Gripe. John, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.
And like any candidate, I just want the listeners, tell us about you. Single, married, family, take it away.
Okay. Thanks to both of you.
Yeah, thanks, John.
So I'm married, actually approaching my 19th anniversary with my wonderful wife, Pam. Incredible woman. We're both cancer survivors. And hers was a lot tougher than mine. But every day she goes through stuff. I just count my blessings every single day. Thank the Lord for giving me that woman. But we have 4 kids between us. Oldest son is 34. He's actually a rocket scientist. I love saying that. He
really?
works for NASA in Houston in mission control. Very, very proud of him. And then the next youngest is our daughter, Michaela. She's 32. She works for a women's shelter and, a wonderful, wonderful organization in Mount Prospect. And then the next youngest, Megan, is 30 and works for Edward Jones, my former employer before I retired.
Okay.
And very proud of her too, in Milwaukee. And then our youngest is 24. You know, you're getting old when your youngest is 24. But she is studying to get her doctorate in physical therapy. So we'll have a doctor, a rocket scientist, and some other wonderful people in our family.
I don't know. That sounds amazing. And I chalk that up always. Good modeling, good parenting, good leading. So sounds like a wonderful family.
Thank you.
So Kane County local politics, right? Jumping into the fray here in Kane County. I just want to remind the listeners, Kane County government, 24 board members. The current complexion, I think it's 16 Democrats to the 8 Republicans, and you decided to jump in. So I always ask, what was your why? Why did you decide to do that?
So thank you for asking. It's an amazing, I love telling the story. So I retired from my career as a financial advisor in January of 23. So I'm planning what I'm going to be doing. Being a good financial advisor, hopefully I had a good plan, which I think I did. But then along comes a former client, good friend of mine,
Okay.
who says, the county board's kind of messed up, and we're looking for people to try and run for office to get on board and fix that. And would you consider it? And I went, nope. And she said, and the smartest question she could have asked, well, would you come to a board meeting with me? Because like most people in Kane County, I'll tell you, I was clueless, uninformed, like most people are. I've asked people, I said, do you know what the county board does? Nope. Do you know when they meet? Nope. Do you know that? Nope. So I was the same. I was just like, okay, they do stuff and they're on our taxes. And so at any rate, so I went to the meeting, and 4 hours later, my jaw had been on the floor the entire time. And I couldn't believe what was being said, what was being done, what was being proposed. And I said, this is unbelievable. It's a train wreck. And there's some very good people, some people I appreciate on that board, but what was going down was definitely not good ideas as I saw them, and definitely not what most of the people I know would want, especially when I told them about this.
Right.
So, at any rate, I came home from that meeting, and I honestly went to Pam, and I said, honey, we have 2 choices. I was totally serious. I said, we either sell our house now and leave the state, or we stay and try and fix this. And we talked about it, we prayed about it, and said, we've got friends around here, our churches around here. I care about the people. I like Kane County, so we're gonna do our best. So I think what my friend did is she was able to take me to the adoption center and have me hold a puppy and say, would you think about adopting this puppy? I'm like, okay, I'm in. So I was in, and it's been hard work. I've never run for office before. I am not a politician. I never want to be a politician. I have standing instructions with some of my friends to hijack and take me away if I ever do. But, I want to be able to help, and that's why I'm running.
Thanks for sharing, and that is a great story. And I would encourage all of the listeners. I mean, when we talk about Civics 101, and you and I are old enough, even Mark over there, we're old enough to remember that was actually taught in schools, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I can remember being, I think in 5th or 6th grade, getting a taste of civics. Now, and when you talk about your kids, our youngest is 20, but I don't remember civics until they were a junior, maybe a senior. And oh, by the way, it depends on what school district and where you are in the country. Yep. And I just think that every citizen that lives in Kane County should go to a board meeting.
Yes.
And just sit there and take it in. I went originally, and we could spend 2 hours talking about that, for a specific issue 15 months ago that really pressed my hot button. But to your point, I never left, because just when you think they're going to work for we the people, I've never seen them want to shave money, just spend money. And it's insane. But anyway, thanks for that story. Now, you had this tremendous professional career background. I want you to listen. What skill set, right? What is it about your professional background? Because to your point, there's some good board members on both sides of the aisle.
Yes.
There's no question about it.
Yes.
And then there's some board members on both sides of the aisle. You scratch your head and go, they can't be here. I mean,
right.
What is it about your professional background that the people need to know, electing you, winning, that you will be a good leader for them here in Kane County?
It's a great question. And I've thought a lot about that, and I think I'm very well prepared. First of all, and in no particular order, I've been very involved in the community, for a long time. Multiple boards, volunteer organizations, the Boy Scouts, Kiwanis, Lazarus House, Wayside Cross, St. Charles Park Foundation. My wife often says I don't say no very well. So I end up, somebody says, we could use somebody to, and I go, I'll do it, and I learn from it. I'm eclectic that way, so I love learning new skills and doing things. But I think I have a very good sense of what has gone on outside of the county board for a long time. So understand the county and the organization, and more importantly, what's important to people. The second thing is my career, obviously, in financial services.
Okay.
I know how to read budgets, but frankly, it's not rocket science. It's not easy, but it's not rocket science. And I think oftentimes people, as I've seen in government, will just say, oh, this is very, very complicated. You couldn't possibly understand this. And I'm like, you want to bet? Yeah, I think so. And so just having that analytical passion, when it's for a purpose. I don't love Excel spreadsheets, but I'll look at them to get what I need out of them. And then from a political standpoint, good friends of mine have said, there's people that are going to come after you, and from all sources, and you need to be able to stand the politics, right? For those of you on radio, it was in quotations. At any rate, so that's a little hard on radio when you do air quotes. I love it. But
you're on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So for those of you at home, so I've realized that I can be tough. I don't like being that way, but if you push me up against a corner or something that I think is an important issue, I will fight and fight hard. I don't give up on people. I really dislike when people take advantage of others when they're trying to do something for their benefit.
Sure.
Not for, the people's benefit, as it were. And I worked for very big companies. And anybody who has knows that there's a lot of politics. I've had stuff said about me, done to me over the years, and I got through it. I'm still here in one piece. I lost my hair in the process, but yeah.
So thanks for sharing that, and just kind of rewinding what I just heard you say. So many different community involvement that I have to believe that those other men and women that served in the community in some of these organizations, they were independents, they were Democrats, they were Republicans, they might even be non-registered voters. And so you've worked with a wide spectrum of people just as a citizen engagement, which is great. The other thing that caught my attention was with your professional background, you talked about the budget and the finances. What I've come to realize is that one of the most important jobs, not only from the chair leading down, but the board collectively coming together, is having not only a balanced budget, but whittling it down and having some good reserves. I've been to enough of these board meetings, and I know I've seen you there a few times. Mark, it's fascinating. You'll go to the board meeting, you pull up the agenda, and technically it's a part-time job, right? These men and women come and serve, and they're in typically 4 or 5 committees. Okay, today's board meeting, open up the packet, 800 pages, wow. 700 pages. So
that's the thickest one I ever saw.
That's crazy.
It's like 12, 14
It is crazy.
Inches.
And so this actually wasn't one of my questions, but I'll ask it anyway. I think that what's important is time management, right? So how can I manage my time effectively and then prepare and go to these board meetings? So it just popped into my head. How do you, right? Books and books and books, right? One of my favorite books, I think it's Stephen Covey, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and using the time matrix, important, urgent, not important, not urgent. How do you balance and manage your time effectively where you'd be able to dig in and look at some of these agendas?
Well, there's only so many hours in the day. and I learned this as a financial advisor. You're never going to, it's probably true in many, many jobs, you're not going to come in the morning and be able to go through that day and finish everything.
Right.
Ain't going to happen. So what do you have to do? And I subscribe to, because I would flail around for my first few years, you know, I'd work real hard, but I was working till 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 6 days a week, never 7 days a week. Sundays are very important, but, and my friends were saying, my fellow colleagues said, "You're an idiot." You know, I'm like, "Thank you very much." You know?
I got work to do. I can't listen to you right now.
I'm busy right now. Leave me alone. I got to stay here until midnight. And they said, you know, it's not fair to yourself, not fair to your family, and it's not good work practice. So I started making a list of 10 things.
Okay.
On a incredibly complex device called a piece of paper. And I would write down 10 things.
Right.
And then I'd try and say, okay, if I had to leave in 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever, what 3 things do I want to get accomplished today? And then go beyond that if I could. Most days I did pretty well. Got a few of them, got them all done. But I've learned that in retirement too. You know, so here I am, and you wake up and people say, it always cracked me up. People would say, "Yeah, I'm retired and I don't know what to do with myself." I'm like, really? You know, I'm up pretty early in the morning and I'm just like boom, 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 working through my day. But it's important because, again, there's many, many things that you could do. Stuff for the campaign, stuff for the house, stuff that, you know, my honey-do list.
Right.
And so I try to just list things out and say, okay, to be successful, what do I need to really accomplish today to get that done? And it works most days.
How much time do we have for our break, Mark?
We got about 6 minutes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I want to go. I'm going all the way back when you were talking about your civic involvement and some of the different things you were involved in. You mentioned the Boy Scouts. Mm-hmm. Did you ever get that coveted? Did you become an Eagle Scout?
Yes. Actually, my son is 3rd generation Eagle Scout. Had the Scouts been around when my grandpa was alive, he was born in the late 1800s. So I'm really old. He would have been an Eagle Scout too, but my dad was, one of his brothers was, my brother, myself, and my son Matt are all Eagle Scouts.
That's amazing. And again, it goes back to when you were sharing about your family. I believe it because I've seen it with my own 3 adult children, and I am certainly not a perfect father, okay, at all. They would be the first to tell you. But good modeling, I'm so proud of them. They're all successful in their own right? They've all had to fail forward correctly. But my wife and I will look back and go, you know, the modeling that we did for them helped provide their launching pad. But Mark, do you know anything about the Eagle Scout getting that badge at all?
Not too much.
You know, it's fascinating, and I know you do know. It's highly coveted because it's like being, I don't know, in the armed forces. You know, not everybody can become a Green Beret or a Navy SEAL, right? Mm-hmm. And so to get to that level, and here's my point, it's all about hard work, focus, commitment, dedication, consistency, drive, and resilience, which to me makes a great combination not only for someone in leadership, but someone being on the board, because what you had to do to attain that is hours and hours and hours of work. And I would encourage the listeners to go out and Google a lot of success, several presidents, many.
Senators, presidents. Yeah.
It's amazing when you dig into some of these men and women that serve, that they're Eagle Scouts. Anything to say on that? Because well, first of all, I'm not going to take all the credit for that. Right.
You know, I did the stuff I had to do to be able to get the Eagle Award. And just as an aside, I did beat both my dad and my brother in the number of merit badges I had after Eagle. So that was important. My dad had a bronze palm, which means 5 more than the 21 you need. My brother had a silver palm, which is 10 more. I'm like, okay, we're going for gold. So I got 15 more than the 21 you need. 2 on my 18th, the day before my 18th birthday, which is when you can't do it anymore. But so I did that work. But without the example of my father and my scoutmasters and the assistant scoutmasters and my friends, that's the same thing for today. I love being mentored. I love being led by good examples. So I constantly seek out people who are at a place I would like to be or live or model a life that I would like to model. And, I have accountability partners and things because I said, even if I get on this path, so I've got all these mentors and I'm just heading forward this way, I got to stay grounded. I got to stay, people say, what are you doing? So every week I have an accountability group I meet with, and they'll tell me I'm being an idiot if I'm being an idiot. And they questioned this whole campaign thing. And they said, why are you doing this? We talked through it, and they're like, okay, makes sense.
Well, and that, by the way, being teachable and trainable and the collaboration piece all go hand in hand, which is equipping you for this time, for this moment, to get into a board situation where you're going to be interfacing with different people, right? We have to pick a team. I wish we didn't. Republican, Democrat. But at the end of the day, what are we doing that's going to make it better for the citizens of Kane County, right? And that's where the collaboration comes in, cutting back, pruning here, making adjustments there, and then being able to collaborate with people on the other side to get things done correctly.
Yep. I led a discussion group, again, no special talent, but being a financial advisor, I thought I should at my church. And Dave Ramsey has a program. He's a financial guy. And my church does that program, as many churches do, about budget coaching and things like that. And I constantly would sit down with people, and in my practice as well, and they'd say, oh, we got a mess on our hands. We're in debt. We're spending money we don't have. What do we do? I said, it ain't rocket science, so we don't need my son. But, if it was, I'll get him on the phone. And
help Dad.
But, to sit with them and say, okay, how about we spend less, we come up with a plan, a budget for what we're going to do, and then decide what things we really need to do and what we don't. And I see the county able to do that, that they don't have to just, oh, cool, that's pretty and shiny, let's go do that. Or we just got this money from the federal government, let's spend it.
Right.
And, because if you start doing that, somebody hands you another credit card, and you're like, wow, I went through that when I was a out of college kid. Somebody gave me a free T-shirt and a credit card, and I went, awesome.
Right.
It's free money. Idiot, stupid. But so I learned that lesson the hard way.
It's interesting you say that, and I know we're probably getting ready to break here in a minute, but when you talked about mentors, and I'll be 63 in September. In my early 20s, I started working for a company, and my boss, who was my mentor, and I worked with him for about 19 years. In my early 20s, he said, Brian, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you spend. Absolutely. He goes, I know people that make $250,000 a year, and they're broke. On the flip side, he goes, I know people that make $55,000 a year, but they're great financial stewards. They go on vacation, they have a nice car, but they live within their means. And, that lesson in my early 20s at the time has stuck with me my entire adult life, because it's about fiscal responsibility. And I'm glad to hear you talk about that, because I think that's one of the things that we need is fiscal responsibility. And, oh, by the way, that's not just Kane County, right? That's in Springfield. Yep. That's in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
And those are two things that we can't control, right? I'm not interested, when I say that, it's the broad brush. I'm not interested in what's happening in Springfield or Washington, D.C. It's broken. What can we try to do here at the local level And that's what I love about local politics. You get the right men and women in the right seats doing the right thing, and we can actually continue to make Kane County a very desirable county to live in, even though it's, I think, 32 taxed in the nation, which is insane.
Yep. Yep. I mean, it's, you know, if your house isn't in order, your own personal house.
Yes.
You need to get people around you that are going to help get it that way. So I use the same analogy for the county. You know, if that house isn't in order, which it isn't, you know, we need to get the right people in there who say, you know, we have a wonderful place. I mean, look at what we have. Kane County, if you just look at it and say where we are, what it is, the resources we have, just everything about it, why not value that and do a better job of bringing people to it and having the people that are here enjoy it instead of pushing people away?
Right.
You know, what can we do to voters to just say, oh, you need to leave? Yeah, and I hear that so often. I go to the board chambers and people will say, I'm leaving. You know, I've heard this, you've just done, I'm leaving. It's like, holy criminy. You know, because I was almost there myself, right? Until I decided to stay and try and help.
Yeah, and by the way, what you just said, I love that. You could have left, you know, trying to engage a few of my neighbors in my neighborhood, and it's the same thing. Hey, listen, in 6 months, we're out of here. We're moving to wherever. Instead of, you know, buckling down and buckling in, you know, we're living in a time period, Mark, that civic engagement, not just in Illinois, but across the country, it's at an all-time low. And people are checked out. People, I think, are mad at both the parties, and by the way, for good reason.
Yep.
Right? So I wouldn't defend either the Republicans or the Democrats. I mean, that's why when people can find that common ground, go, what's best for our taxpayers here in Kane County? And I know we're getting ready to have a break, but one of the questions that, if I ask it now and then we can continue after the break, is, you know, I've been going to these board meetings and I don't see good, effective communication and collaboration. How do you, in your past civic life, and how would you try to work across the room and talk with these others on the other side that may have a different agenda? How's that been successful for you?
Well, since I started going to meetings over a year ago, I've tried to connect with people on the board. And there are a number, as I mentioned earlier, a number of people I respect, both parties. The opposite is true as well. But, you know, saying there's some good people here, why don't we get people together who really want to work for what's best for the voter? And that differs every issue, right?
Yes.
But be able to talk and say, okay, you're wearing a blue shirt and I'm wearing a red shirt, so I don't like you, you know, or vice versa. And I realized that if we listen more than we talk, that, and here I am talking. But
that's all right. I'm listening.
It's hard to it's hard to listen on radio. Just okay, somebody say something. Yeah. But you know, I've realized that made me I was not a good advisor, financial advisor at first, because I can talk, blah 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 blah, right? And my assistant would listen to me because she could hear pretty much everything that's going on, and she goes, you know, you might want to consider listening a little more and finding out what the client wants, finding out what the voter wants, finding out what's good for people, and then figuring out a way to do that. And you can talk, but when you have a proposal, do that. So the minute I started listening more than I was talking, and active listening, which is, you know, one of those cheap phrases you hear about, but really doing it and saying, okay, I just heard you say something and I don't understand it. What do you mean? Can you explain that to me again? And to really make sure you understand, that doesn't mean you're going to agree with it. I've heard lots of things that I didn't like, and I said, okay, here's what I've heard. I understand it, but I'll tell you why I think that's not a healthy approach. Anyway, that kind of thing, just to listen to people and say, why can't we work together? We all have Kane County, this beautiful, wonderful place that we all love, and why can't we work together to protect it, grow it, and respect it?
No, and I want to go back to what you said about active listening, and I, you know, I think you said you might have said it was a cheap phrase. Anyway, a lot of books on it. I'm a big truly empathic, active listening, you kind of walk away kind of tired because you are pouring all of your attention and energy into the other person talking, and because it is draining, right? And so I see people in the board meetings, they're not paying attention. They're not listening to when one of the other board members goes, I need a little bit more information on this. They're actually reading the paper. They're on their phone instead of going, Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So, they have a good viewpoint. Change my mind, right? And I think that with the right leadership, and that starts at the top, and we could spend hours on that conversation. It starts at the top. Collaboration, good leadership. What are we trying to do here for the citizens of Kane County? That's really where we're at.
Yep.
9:37, it's Kane County Speaks with Brian Anderson and candidate Johnathan Gripe for Kane County Board District 14. We have 2 calls on the line, and we can take a few calls when we come back from the break. That's what we'd like to do on the show. So give us a call if you'd like to be a part of it. 847-931-1410. That's 847-931-1410. We have Steve Thorne, Elgin City Councilman, on hold, and another caller, Mark, on hold too. And we've got an open phone line too. So give us a call and keep it right here on WRMN AM 1410 and on YouTube at WRMN Radio on YouTube. We'll be right back.
With your AM 1410 WRMN Newsflash, I'm Sean Kernan. Brought to you by Linzess. Attention drivers and festival goers in preparation for the upcoming Michelada Festival. This Sunday, Grove Avenue between Prairie Street and Lake Street in Elgin will be completely closed to all traffic from 7 a.m. until midnight. Find out more on the City of Elgin website. On June 16th on Villa Street, authorities were summoned following reports of gunfire. Upon arrival, police found an injured adult male who was taken to a hospital and subsequently revealed a confrontation between the injured man and a 16-year-old. 2 days later, the teen was arrested without resistance. The teen suspect facing charges of unlawful firearm possession and aggravated unlawful use of a weapon. On June 25th at 7 p.m., residents in Naperville have the chance to meet with State Senator Laura Ellman at the Naperville Municipal Center to discuss the outcomes of the recent spring legislative session. It's running from 7 to 8 p.m. in Room A. With your AM 1410 WRMN Newsflash, I'm Sean Kernan.
This is Mike Golick Sr. Hulu is coming in hot this month with new shows, new movies, and all new seasons of your faves. Don't miss FX has Clipped, the story of an NBA team's racial reckoning starring Lawrence Fishburne. Stream a new season of Shoresy, the underdog hockey comedy that might just knock your teeth out. Then catch the high-speed drama Ferrari starring Adam Driver and Penelope Cruz. Kick your streaming into high gear this month with so much new stuff to watch on Hulu.
Not to brag, but Progressive's Name Your Price tool is mankind's greatest tool ever. Even better than the wheel. Sure, without the wheel, we wouldn't have modern transportation or funny videos of dogs riding skateboards. But without the Name Your Price tool, we wouldn't have easy access to auto insurance options based on our budget. And, well, cars do need wheels. They also need insurance, and insurance never goes flat. Learn more about the greatest tool ever, the Name Your Price tool at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
All right, welcome back. It's Kane County Speaks. We got about 15 minutes or so left on the show. Phone lines open, 847-931-1410. We'd like to take the first 25 minutes or so of the show to kind of set the tempo, talk about some issues, talk about what the candidate wants to share about he or she as they run for office, and then we'd like to hear your comments. And so that's the time right now, right, Brian?
That's it. What do we got?
Well, we got Steve Thorne checking in at 847-931-1410 on the phones. So let's see what Stevie's got for us this morning. Hey, Stevie T, how you doing?
Good morning. Thank you for the excellent program, and I want to immediately say hello to Johnathan. I met him years ago when I worked for First Choice Bank with Tom Russi and Joe Cantu. And John, I hope you're doing well.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I remember. It's like blast from the past. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I'm a sitting Elgin City Councilman these days, and one of the few conservatives up there. But I just wanted to compliment you and your ideals and your goals. And once you sat in on the county meetings and decided that you wanted to help make a difference, so my compliments to you, and I will be behind you. So I want to wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. You know, there's a lot of people, any party, any background at all, that can really help me make a difference. And, you know, first of all, just getting elected, but then, you know, staying in contact with people and knowing what people want. That's, you know, it's kind of the politician thing, which, again, I hate politicians. No offense.
Sure.
But
well, it's a good time to do it because so many people are unhappy with what's going on from all the way up to the top.
Yep.
But especially on the county board. And as you mentioned, there's good people on both sides, and there's some sour apples on both sides.
Yep.
In fact, there's one individual, I won't say my comment on him, but it's amazing that I have never heard one person that thinks favorably of Vern. So hopefully he can get out of there. But I have to go now.
All right.
I just wanted to wish you luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
Appreciate it, Steve.
All right. Brian, thanks for doing the show.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Steve Thorne checking in with that, with those comments. 847-931-1410. We stay on the phones, and we have Mark on the phone with us now. Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Hey, doing great. Good morning. I want to get to an issue that could come to the county board, and it has to do with election integrity. A year ago, there were some issues with the consolidated election and the county clerk, Jack Cunningham, and also some sort of a grant. Now, the county board has in its power to convert the elections operations from the county clerk into a county election commission. And with now Clerk Cunningham retiring at the end of his current term in 2026, does Mr. Gripe have a position on going to a county election commission to bring the oversight of elections underneath the commission, to be in public meetings, so there will be public discourse or public discussion about elections operations in Kane County?
That's a very good question, Mark. And my initial reaction is I'm very open to doing things better. And, you know, saying an election commission sounds good. I would want to make sure that it works the way people would want it to work. So I can put a different label on the existing process and it's still broken, right? So let's find what is the right answer. It sounds like a good idea. I'd love to learn more about it. But clearly, you know, the voting machines and how they got put in, the ones we're using now is just, you know, I remember on election night sitting with some other candidates, and Kane County was the only county in Illinois that was way, way behind in showing results. You know, we're looking at the rest of the state. We were watching Channel 5 or something, I guess. And it's like, you know, I'm looking on my phone and saying, you know, they're like 1% of the precincts in Kane County, and elsewhere it was 50, 60, 70, 80% of the precincts. And stuff like that just got me to shake my head. So I'm very open to doing what's better, because election integrity is something I'm very passionate about. And for somebody to say, well, yeah, I don't know if my vote's going to count, or I don't know, maybe my vote's going to get stolen or something like this. And I used to think, it's all conspiracy theory. Well, the more I learn, the more I realize it's not. And we need to be much more careful how we manage the process. So I think it's a great idea.
Okay, very good, and we'll look forward to what the campaign shows. Thank you for letting me talk.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for calling in.
Appreciate it, Mark. It's Kane County Speaks at 9:46 with Brian and candidate Johnathan Gripe. We have one more call, actually.
Oh, okay.
See you putting your headsets up, and then phone lines will continue to be open. But we have Bob Balsamo from South Elgin checking in. We call him Good Old Bob here on the program. And hi, Bob. How are you doing?
Hi, guys. Early on in the program, you made reference to some items that were passed by the Democrat majority that were quite liberal, and the implication is that it had to do with the ecology. You didn't go into any details. Please do so. Thank you.
I can say a little.
All right, Bob, thanks.
Yeah, I can say a little. Thanks for the question, Bob. I can say a little bit about it. I read, just as an aside, the county hired with federal money for $500,000. I'm believing is what the price tag was. A report that supposedly said everything there was to ever know about climate in Kane County. I read every single page of that report multiple times, and I kept looking at it and saying, you know, this same company, a couple of people out of Minnesota. You know, I love small businesses, but these guys charge like $500,000 for every single report they do, and this report looked suspiciously like one that they did for Skokie, Oak Park, Chicago. And the reason I realized that is that there's one section in the Kane County report that they forgot to take out that talked about Skokie. And it's like, oops, we forgot to remove that one to make it Kane County. So you know how I remember in the old days in Word documents, you'd go find and replace.
Yeah.
It's like somebody didn't click the find and replace button right enough. But the problem with it is that it had some very stupid ideas in it previously. They modified it a little bit. So it's in place now, but what scares me about it is that there's really no specificity to it. It's one of those, yeah, we're just going to do climate stuff. That it doesn't say that, but you know, that's kind of where you're at. And what concerns me is when you put that kind of weapon in the hands of people who aren't necessarily, you know, really concerned about climate. They're more concerned about the money that climate control and climate management can do. Then you end up with some crazy stuff. So I'm concerned about it.
So, Bob, thanks for calling. And if you've got a pen and piece of paper, it's paleblue.llc. That is the website. That is the company, paleblue.llc. And you could do your own due diligence and do some research. Interesting enough, at that board meeting, we had Mark Rice, who is running for Congressional 8. He came in and he wanted to speak. Why? Because as the CEO of an energy company, and he spent 30 years in that sector, he was bringing up factual data, once again, for the board to listen, collaborate, talk about, and go, maybe we should have more time. Maybe we should wrestle with some of these agenda items, some of these objectives. And at the end of the day, that's not, unfortunately, what happened. Again, Resolution 24-228, Bob, would be the number if you wanted to go out and either Google Kane County Climate Action Implementation Resolution 24228, you might get something that pops up. Or you could go back to the Kane County government building and look at past meetings and perhaps find some more information. But I'm so thankful that you asked about that, because it is about awareness, and the more people that knows what's going on, an educated citizen is a dangerous dangerous person, if you will, because we now have facts and we want to challenge the status quo. But thank you for that.
9:50 and one more phone call at 847-931-1410 right now. Let's check in with John. Good morning, John.
Good morning, gentlemen. Just a real quick question. What would it take to get the Kane County Board meetings moved to evening hours, like at 6 and 7?
I sure would like to help do that, because every time great question, thank you. When I first started going to meetings, I'd say, you know when they hold them? And people are like, I don't know. It's like 9 in the morning or something. It's like, why did they do that? So you can't go.
Right.
Because you're probably working. And being a retiree, I could. But I don't know why we couldn't consider something like that. Occasional maybe committee meetings during the day.
I took my headset off, so I apologize. What's your first name?
John.
John, thanks so much for the call. So here's what I've gathered. What I understand, I think that if the chairman of the board, of the Kane County Board, would then all of the board members then, I believe, would have to vote on that because, out of 102 counties, I think, here in Illinois, there are other counties, their board meetings are at night, most of the time, 6 o'clock, just like, in St. Charles or Elgin and Aurora, a lot of these city council meetings are in the evening. So after you and I work all day, we can go right to a board meeting. And so I find it quite interesting. But I think that's something that could be brought up. However, I'm not an expert on the bylaws of the Kane County government, but that's what I've heard. And so if we were able to elect Lance Bell, who is running for the Kane County chair position, Lance Bell, and then he's in there, and then if we've got some other common sense men and women elected to the board, I think that is certainly something. And I think the other thing too, John, is as a taxpayer, I'd certainly love you to either email the entire board or email your district board member or come to a board meeting sometime and just throw that out there for the board members to hear another citizen share their thoughts. I think that's always a positive thing to do.
Excellent idea.
That's a good idea. That really is a good idea. And, the one thing that I just want to add and that I can, jump off the phone is that not only would that attract, I believe, more people, more citizens that can get into the government, but it might attract better candidates who, God forbid, have to work or are at an age, late 50s, early 60s, where they're still working, but making a commitment in the middle of the day is tough to do. And that's why I think the quality of the candidates would be increased if the meetings and the commitments were at 6 and or 7 o'clock.
Good point.
So, John, thank you for that. I agree wholeheartedly. And while you brought that up, I will mention that, several of the board members, right, not all, but several, they do have jobs, and it's all about time management. One of my favorite board members, his name is David Young. I don't know, he's got to be, 42 to 58, I don't know, in that range. He's the president of his own company, married. I believe he's got a daughter still in high school. So all of the time, as a dad, as a father, as a husband, as an entrepreneur. So it can be done, but I'm telling you, and you can appreciate this, John, that not everybody is good at time management. And so I agree with you that, boy, if that board meeting could be in the evenings, you're right. I think you're going to get more citizen engagement, which is absolutely should be what the board members would want and the chairman of the board would want is citizen engagement. So you can tell us what we're doing right and wrong, and it would be also good to get, like you said, other candidates. So thank you for that great question.
Thanks, John.
My pleasure. Good show, Mark.
Thanks, buddy. All right, 9:55 here at WRMN, so we got about 3 minutes left. Johnathan, I don't know if you, and I know you have probably another minute or two of things you want to say, Brian. You're never short of things to say, but I don't know that we really ever got where District 14 is.
Excellent.
Very good, Mark. Thank you.
The way I've come to describe it is in St. Charles at the base of it, west of the river, north of Dean Street, and then that chunk kind of runs up into South Elgin, Thornwood area, and then it jogs out to the west a little bit, all the way up through Elgin to Lake Street.
Okay.
So, done with a drunk monkey on a map probably is how they set it up originally.
Huh.
It is a big district.
Yeah, it is a big district, and I've walked every street in it. But if you want to know what district you're in, so that's my district, 14, just for information. 12 is on the other side of the river, similar layout, and 16, Eric Stair, is north of that, Elgin, some South Elgin. Anyway, if you want to know, go to the Kane County government website, and then click on government, and then look down that list, and it'll be find my district.
Yes.
And then all you do is type in your address, like 123 Maple Street. And even as you start typing it in, it'll pop up suggestions.
Okay.
And it'll bring up a picture of whoever, the number and the person. And this time around, FYI to everybody, the folks running are in the even number districts, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14.
Perfect.
I gotcha.
Thanks for that. So with the time left, and thank you for that frame up, Mark, 46% now of voters in Kane County are independents. So you're running under the Republican platform, right? So as with our time left, what's your message to independents and even what I would call moderate soft Democrats that are like, I'm tired of what's going on. I don't want to keep our taxes going up. I don't like some of these initiatives. What would you say to them to give you a look and go into and vote for you on November 5th? What would you say to those two people?
Well, first of all, thank you for asking, because it's important to me, representing everybody. I mean, when you elect somebody like a county board rep for District 14, I will represent everybody. Well, that's easier said than done, right? But like when I went campaigning for the primary, mind you,
Yes.
I went to every single house in a large area around my house, and some ones I knew were Democrats. And I said, I don't care. I want to talk to them. And I actually had a guy, one of my neighbors who shall remain nameless, pretty much try and throw me off his porch saying, I don't like Republicans. I don't want to talk to Republicans. And I said, why? I said, you don't know me. You've never met me. You don't know what I stand for. To his credit, we ended up standing and talking for 15 minutes. And I'm pretty sure he would never have voted for me. But we had a conversation which proved to me that if you listen and you're open to hearing what people have to say, that we can have that kind of again, I'm wearing red, you're wearing blue, you're red, I'm blue. It shouldn't matter. So
Right.
I really want to reach out to everybody, because frankly, I've got friends who are Democrats, I've got friends who are Republicans, I've got friends who are independents. I don't care what label you put on yourself. I care about you. And that's what I want to do, is really help people. And hopefully my life and my volunteer life and my church life and my career practice demonstrated that.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And I know we're close to wrapping. I heard one of the board members going, my seat, it's my seat. I heard you on the campaign trail. Somebody told me that John Gripe was going, folks, it's your seat. I want to represent your seat. What do you want in your seat done? And I thought that was such a refreshing approach. Mm-hmm. And as we wrap up, I just want your listeners to know that's the kind of mindset you have. You are truly a servant leader, and it's been a pleasure chatting with you today, John. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And do you have a website, John?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It's www.gripe, last name easy to spell.
Yeah.
I have the perfect name for politics. Gripeforkane.com.
Gripeforkane.com.
Yep, all my information's there. My email is john@gripeforkane.com. Send me an email, reach out, whatever.
All right, sounds great.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you in 2 weeks, Brian.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You're listening to WRMN. Keep it right here.